Hi everyone. So not too long ago, I released my debut feature film, which I made with my dad, and we shot it in 3 hours and edited it in 1 week as part of Joel Haver's Oscars competition. And it's easily the thing that I'm most proud of in my entire career so far. I think our performances and every part of the movie on a technical level, it's all perfect, and I'm so proud of it. And so it's been amazing to see all these views fly in and see all these people connect with it. It's just beautiful, and it's the most that a Little Fire film has ever connected with people, and that's incredible, mind-blowing to me. And so I've had a few people ask me, about the details of how we brought it to life, why we felt it was a story we had to tell, and what we did to obviously fit everything into that 3-hour shoot time, and all about the week of editing. And so we thought we'd just do a bit of an informal documentary kind of thing, just to explain how we brought such a crazy project to life.
Well, I'll probably just ask you some questions, eh?
Yeah.
Yep.
That sounds good.
So, first of all, let me kick off by asking you to explain to your viewers what your passion is for folk or $0 filmmaking, and sort of like this sort of obsession with this mentor figure, Joel Haver, and what he's up to and how he's inspired you to kind of go down this road with the folk Zero stuff.
I mean, I've been watching Joel for about 3 or 4 years now, and it's this incredible thing that he's done, just to be able to inspire so many people. And I've said it before that I don't think Joel has ever made a movie that I haven't 100% connected with. He's got this unique style that only he's capable of, that I don't think you could ever properly pull off with a budget. It's a $0 style, and he brings it to every movie, and it's just it gels with me so much. And then there's so many other movies that Joel's inspired that have gone on to become my favorites. $0 movies that seriously aren't getting enough recognition. And when I was probably about 12 years old, decided I had this dream that I'd direct my first feature film when I was 15. And as I got older, I sort of convinced myself this dream was impossible. Like it sort of became a bit of a joke, like, oh, remember how I wanted to direct my first feature film at 15? How crazy was I? And then, I discovered all these incredible movies made for $0 and this Oscars competition, which Joel's been running for a few years now. And I've never had the confidence, I think, until now, to actually participate in it. I've always, watched as many of the movies as I could. But I guess I've never really had the bravery. The first year it was on, and then, last year it was on, but I was way too busy working on my web series Metamorphia. But I think through working on that series, I built up that confidence. And so this year I finally decided to give it a crack. And I'm, like I've said 100 times probably, but I'm so proud of what we managed to accomplish.
Yeah, it's been interesting watching you sort of throw your passion in this direction. And initially I sort of didn't get it, sort of coming from more of a traditional old school filmmaking theatre background myself. I just sort of YouTube, free, folk, yeah. This, that and the other, $0. I mean, a lot of these things seem impossible, but you've really shown me that it is really punk rock, and it's really kind of cool, and it's a subculture, almost like being a part of pop art or something. And you don't, when you're Andy Warhol and in the middle of creating a new movement, you don't realize you're creating something new that'll be looked upon later by others as something game changing. But it really feels like you've gotten onto this thing, and these people are so wonderful that they're such good role models. They're such good, hard-working, incredibly creative people. I'm so proud that you've found these mentors and these sort of people to surround yourself with. All right, so what can you tell us about how you chose to deal with the 3-hour time restriction, shooting during the Oscars running time, and how that informed the narrative style that you chose to sort of work with, that we chose to work with, to sort of pull it off?
Yeah, in the 3 hours, I knew we'd never be able to, that we'd have to sort of pick a location and stick to it. And this spot is a spot that we come pretty regularly to walk the dog. And, I just sort of, I always wanted to use it in something. And so I thought this would be perfect. And it's very symbolic, it's a long hill, and there's all these different little ways you can turn off the path, and like this log's really interesting, and there's a little alcove in there that's really interesting. And so yeah, we basically base the entire film around this path and how we could tell a story from point A to point B. And yeah, the rest just really flowed quite naturally. We'd just come here for walks with the dog and just improv. And that's how we did that quite a few times, and just built up a sort of a language. And then from that, we were able to go, okay, before we did the actual shoot, we were able to go, okay, so that bit was funny. From that walk we did, that bit was funny, that thing was funny, that thing was funny. Let's do the walk again, let's shoot it. And that was the 3 hours of the Oscars.
Yeah, I thought it was great how, me coming sort of, not exclusively, but, from a theatre background, when you initially sort of hit me up with the idea, I thought, because you're a screenwriter and, you write, and I thought, oh God, he's going to write some 40-minute script and I'm going to have to learn a mountain of lines. And it was really intimidating, and sort of, I didn't quite know whether I was capable of, learning lines and all that sort of stuff. But, then when we just did the improvisation technique, which I was kind of more familiar with, and obviously, that's your kind of bread and butter as well. Yeah, like you said, grab the dog and walk the path. And it was sort of like, once we set up a pace for the walking, it was just sort of like, stories from our past just sort of came out, true stories. And then, it was just that sort of put a little spin on the end, put a little nasty spin, and it's sort of like, oh, that'll work. It was good to sort of go home and...
It was just about building the characters, really.
Yeah.
And then the stories just came naturally.
It was good for me to just sort of try out ideas, and then when we'd get home, you'd go, oh, I like that idea, or like that idea, remember this, remember that. And then we'd just play them again. We never write any of them down. We'd just come back and plug those in, move them around, juggle them around a bit until before we knew it, we sort of had something, didn't we?
Yeah. I love improv. I've been in an improvisation group since I was 5. So, it's really something that I just love the sort of the naturalistic feel of it, but also the on edge feel of it. Like, when you sort of hear dialogue, and it's only a subtle difference, but when you hear dialogue that's been written, there's sort of like a flow to it. Whereas when you hear dialogue that feels improvised, it feels very on edge. It feels like it might sort of at any point go in any direction. There's sort of no, you can never be sure where it's headed. And it just has this really great sort of naturalistic, realistic sort of vibe to it.
Yeah, it was great we were able to tap into that. I think, that really helped it and made it feel electric and took the pressure off and just meant that we could focus on being natural rather than forced. And I think, you know, it's just amazing that such a cohesive narrative kind of emerged out of that, that we actually, I'm quite surprised how well we actually were able to go through archetypes and moments that are almost straight out of a psychology 101, how to reconcile your differences kind of moment, so it rose and had a natural kind of drive all the way through it to the sort of, you know, the bits we ended up doing here, the monologue bits, which, you know, kind of represent that sort of peak emotional forgiveness kind of place,
totally.
sort of resolution kind of ending. Yeah, I was really kind of amazed that you were able to pull all that together and just sort of, you know, from a sort of almost nowhere idea to sort of somewhere really kind of detailed. And it's amazing what improv can do, isn't it? It's sort of just really is the key to
all my best ideas come to me like that, and then all my worst ideas come to me over like 6 months, and they're all they're not bad ideas, but they're just different. And personally, I prefer the ones that come to me like that. It's just sort of they pull out of some kind of magical storytelling ether, just straight into your brain.
And then I felt like, you know, like once all that sort of came together, it seemed, you know, being both from theatre and film myself, it seemed quite easy to just sort of go, oh, so we just run this like a giant improv, and just place cameras in front of us.
Cameras,
Like we don't even really need, until we get to the trickier bits where we kind of choreograph it with the camera operators. Most of it was just sort of point and shoot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Get the angle right. And then I really loved how you were sort of insistent on using singles for the, you know, for the first third to sort of create that sense of claustrophobia between the characters, that disconnection between the characters, and that wide shots or two shots in a way had to be earned. They couldn't just be, you know, sort of given from the start, or, you know, obviously an introduction is a little bit different, but once you got into the meat and potatoes of it, it was this very strict singles mentality until we got deep into the storyline, and we'd sort of, you felt the characters were starting to give each other a chance, starting to listen to each other a little bit, and then we could open up to the two shot or the wide shot, or, you know, it was really clever the way you kind of did that. Just a mise-en-scène choice that sort of really helps tell the story, and it's like really cool.
And I think the Handycam also helps contribute to that as well. I really love handheld camera, and when it's used sort of narratively, it's not done often. It's sort of more, you think like a documentary sort of found footage thing, but when it's used narratively, it creates a real sense of realism and a real sort of unease.
Yeah, it's amazing how much it created a sense of drama, that kind of edgy moving camera that wasn't glidey or gimbally, it wasn't sort of trying to float.
And there's a bit of a stigma around Handycam, you know, like you say, oh, it's handheld camera, people turn their nose up, they sort of go, oh, what is it going to be, like shaky, like
Blair Witch kind of.
Yeah. Maybe Blair Witch is to blame, but it's like, you know, there's a real beauty to it that I think should be represented more.
Yeah, it sort of was a bit of a narrative tool in a way too, wasn't it? It's just as much as what you're seeing inside the frame, the movement of the frame itself provides a sense of danger.
Yeah.
Provides a sense of, I mean, there was that conundrum, wasn't there? The title of it, Your Path of No Return, which seemed to come quite early to us.
Yeah.
You know, based on that, almost that first improv, and you know, I remember you had reservations where you're going, oh, is it too sort of horror genre?
Yeah, I was worried people were
like,
going to...
No, that's sort of kind of interesting because it's sort of like a red herring.
Come to it expecting us to get like kidnapped by some...
Yeah, remember we got that one comment early on where someone said, oh, I thought someone was going off that cliff.
Yeah, a couple people did.
Yeah.
When we were in that alcove, a couple
Yeah.
people thought I was going to throw you off the cliff.
Yeah.
Which is probably fair, because you really did sort of go, oh, it's really steep, isn't it, that cliff?
Well,
Oh,
it's funny how these things just sort of added up, and we weren't even really conscious of playing into any of that sort of stuff, but people read into it, and oh yeah, there is that sense of danger that, either I might smash you with a rock, or you might push me off the cliff, or
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, it seems that way for ages. Yeah.
But those red herrings were good, because I
Yeah.
thought, there's a psychological sense of danger, much like a horror, but not so much a physical one that ever manifests. And so, like, in a way, it is a real horror. The loss of your parent, the loss of your family, the loss of all these things are the real. I mean, that's more full on than a horror movie. You get stabbed, you go to hospital. You get a psychological damage from a parent, you can never heal that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no hospital on earth that can kind of, sort of do anything for you. So what is the real horror?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So what can you tell the viewers about your intention for the storyline, like where you were going? Did you have like a discursive outline, some sort of theme that you wanted to attack early on? Like, what can you, even as it kind of evolved, can you tell us like how important some of the meaning kind of things in there for you were? Like, discourse kind of principles?
Yeah.
And
Our huge goal through the whole thing was we wanted to make a love letter. We didn't want to make an attack. We didn't want to make we really just wanted it to be a love letter to fathers and sons and all parental relationships. I always think a good movie is one that can show you multiple perspectives. It's something that a movie can do really well, and if it captures that, then I'm always hooked. If it can sort of, because we've got these two characters, this father and this son, and they're going on this walk, and what I think we did really well is we show this son's story. We show his turmoil with his father, but then we also show the father's struggle, and it's an equal struggle, and no one's a villain, I think, and that's true in life as well. No one's a villain. Everyone is just trying to do their best, and maybe we act like villains, and we don't realize it or whatever, but it's hard. Life is hard, and it's hard to keep those relationships tight. And this sort of stuff happens, this disconnect of a father and son, but it's no one's fault. And I think really it's the quicker that the characters realize that in this film, the quicker that they can rebuild that relationship. And yeah, so that was really important to me. I think, that's really the sign of a good movie, if it can show you multiple perspectives and not just, attack this one character or only let you in on one character's insights,
Yeah, I really, from both an outsider and an insider's perspective on it, like I really like and appreciate how you sort of managed to create that non-judgmental place, but also, that sense of hope that,
yeah,
like you said, you mentioned before about a love letter, and it really rings true, and that there's always a chance.
Yeah,
you look at some of these devastated relationships and you go, all you've got to do is find a way to talk to each other. Once you pry away that invisible wall.
And obviously we can't speak for
No.
other people's relationships, but this film in particular and this story we were trying to tell, it's not a story about the end, and it's not a bleak story. It can be in parts, but I think at the end of the day it's a story about hope. And that's always more beautiful to me. I think that's harder to capture in a lot of ways, a sense of hope. It's easy just to make a movie bleak and call it a day, to make it sort of, you know, just be a devastation, and then, you know, generally get accolades for years to come. But when a movie really speaks to me is when it can suddenly find beauty and hope and wonder within a bleak scenario, you know, and then explore that. You know, that to me is the power of cinema. You know, as a, you know.
I mean, look, let's face it, you've only been sort of making work for a few years or a handful of years.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like, you know, made your first serious film when you were like 13 or something. But like, it's funny how there's already emerging this sort of discourse of kind of healing. Like, you've got this, like, using cinema as a healing art form.
Yeah.
It's sort of, if you think about it, it's in everything that you do. You're not just telling stories, you're trying to address issues in people's lives and present a bit of hope, like you said before, hope for them. And it's like, there is a way out, there is a way to come to terms with what's happening in your life, with your identity, with your, you know, whatever's going on, whatever hardship. You try to present this sort of hopeful way out.
Yeah.
And reinforce, you know, that's a beautiful thing. I hope that sort of continues in the work that you make.
Even, you know, even with Metamorphia, that was a very surrealist series, and it was very wacky and weird, but even in that, I think that the core of that is this sense of, you know,
change and growth.
And accepting, you know, people with their quirks, and, you know, finding in this bizarre situation that the character finds himself in, but finding beauty within it, and finding a way to change with the world that he's in. Yeah.
Yeah, it brings a real positive, heartwarming feel to a kind of a platform or an art form that's becoming a little bleak.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I mean, I know drama's based around sort of negative things happening in people's lives. We don't want to just see happy lollipops.
I don't have anything. I don't have anything against bleak movies. You know, I don't want that to be the takeaway from this. But it's like, you know, and I think maybe we need bleak movies every now and then, certain issues and whatnot. But I think I'm just, on a personal level, when a movie really speaks to me, and the kind of movies that I want to create are ones that can take you into a dark place and then show you the light. That was a pretty cool little metaphor. I just pulled out of my ass. It's probably been somewhere before. I probably read it, but that's what I hope to achieve with movies. I think that's the power of the art form, really. Yeah.
Oh, mate. So, what can you tell us about the practicalities of the filmmaking? So, like, on the day, the 3 hours that we had, you know, poor old us in Adelaide with the runtime of the Oscars, 40-degree day.
40-degree day,
oh my God, it was horrendously hot. What can you tell us about how it all played out? You know, your crew, and how you kind of come up with the ideas of bringing these guys together and sort of working everything into that 3 hours?
Yeah, so we were very lucky on the actual day that it was quite overcast. We had done, you know, like on those walkthroughs I was talking about where we'd generate ideas, we'd done a few of those where it was in the blaring sun, and that was awful. But, you know, it was nice. I was thankful that on the actual day, for most of the 3 hours at least, we had perfectly overcast skies.
Oh, there was that dress rehearsal day that was horrendous as well. It was probably actually 2 or 3 degrees hotter than the Oscars
That
day.
was awful. Yeah.
Ugh.
But yeah, I was thankful we weren't really running it that day. We were just sort of showing the crew the location, and that was the other wonderful thing. We had the absolutely most incredible crew that we'd managed to wrangle. We had Jake and Ezra running cameras, and essentially we were able to say to them, we walked through what we wanted to do, and then we were essentially able to say to them, look, we're going to be in the performance mindset. You know, we're going to be, you know, if you have any questions, obviously ask, but just take creative control and have fun with it. You know, and this is the spirit of the challenge, and like everyone was so wonderful. We had Leah on sound. She was amazing. You know, there was never any point where I was worried about the technical aspects because we felt like we were in good hands.
And then also a couple of other
Isaac and
current UniSA students, sort of, you know, young guys, to do the spotter stuff, to sort of make sure the camo's could focus on us and walk backwards down the path and not fall over.
Isaac and Jackson, they'd stand behind the cameras and basically just, because the cameras were obviously walking backwards, and they just make sure that the path was clear, because a lot of it's downhill, a lot of it's uphill, and so there's a lot of freaky terrain here. But it was good to have them around as well.
Yeah, it was great to have such a small, to achieve such a lot with such a small unit. It's a real testament to sort of what can be done with just the bare bones of it. Hey, when you sort of walk on, you know, I mean, you've been on film sets where, you know, it's close to 100 people standing around off camera, and you know, sort of have.
It's nice to have a small crew where everyone just really wants to be a part of the project. You know, everyone just brings that energy and really wants to be there, really wants to get the movie made. And that's such a wonderful energy to have. You know, you're not working with anyone that's sort of, it's not a job, you know, everyone's doing it for the love of it. In this particular scenario. And Mum as well was wonderful. She had a bag essentially of, you know, water and Powerade and like little lollies and all sorts, and all the gear that we needed.
Plus she was shooting behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, she had a little camera as well, shooting the behind the scenes footage you're probably watching right now. And she was absolutely amazing.
The other thing I find interesting too about it was that we were able to sort of shoot, you know, you don't often get this in making a movie, but from start to finish. We kept it completely in the linear order.
Well, with improv, you got it.
Yeah, that's right, I guess. Yeah. But it was just good to go from moment to moment to moment to moment to moment, and sort of, you know, that's probably how we were sort of able to keep check of, you know, as performers within the sort of zeitgeist of it, like keep check on that balancing act.
Yeah, it helped the performance.
Of driving towards that end goal.
Yep,
yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, it was a really good part of it, wasn't it? Well, we were just so lucky, weren't we?
Yeah.
In terms of the crew.
Oh, we were lucky. We were lucky with a lot of things.
Yeah.
Very, very lucky.
And, you know, they did such a good job in terms of the camera work. We're getting heaps of comments on the cinematography. Yeah, they just love it.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Yeah.
Those guys are great.
So, Dad, I've got a question for you.
Oh, hey.
I've been watching these Oscars movies for each year that it's been done now. But this is your first time really checking them out. You know, after we finished, we did a bit of a binge of everyone else's. There's still so many I want to watch, but I'd love to know sort of what you think makes it so special as a challenge. You know?
When I sort of looked at all those films, it was just amazing. All the different ideas, all the things that can be done. I mean, Joel, he never ceases to amaze. Just the way he comes up, like you were saying before, they're Joel films, they're sort of Joel ideas. They're sort of no one else could sort of almost tap them. They just sort of come out of his very soul, and it just sort of ends up on screen. And I guess that's true for a lot of other people you got Cody Clark with his shark fantasies.
Yeah.
And it's sort of just getting to know these guys and the way they think through their work is just, it's unreal.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of must admit, I kind of, really blown away. I just never realized that there was sort of this family of.
And they're so supportive as well.
So
of each other.
supportive.
And, yeah.
There's
Everything
no, I'm glad Joel took the competition edge off it for this year, because it shouldn't be about a competition. It should be about a challenge.
And it's
Because it is an extraordinary challenge. And look, I must admit, when you kind of said to me, feature film in 3 hours, I thought you were out of your mind, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I really did. Just my brain couldn't process how in any way, shape or form that was achievable. But, you knew what you were doing in a way, you knew what you wanted, and, kind of gradually won me over to the point where I ended up in front of the camera as well.
Yeah.
But to see all of those different genres packed in, all of those different options, styles, comedy, doco, mocko, like one take, multiple takes. Oh, it's just so glorious. Yeah, I'm really kind of into it. I'm addicted to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the one next year going, "Well, what are we gonna do? We're gonna
Yeah.
do it." Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Joel is just something else. His sort of good heart, his good nature is he's a good godfather for the movement.
And it's amazing how many people participate every year and make just astounding movies, and how seemingly unnoticed they go. I'm like beyond happy with the recognition that ours is getting in the moment. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it?
I never expected it.
No.
I don't know where it's come from either. I looked at the analytics and it's like YouTube's recommending it
Yeah.
to people.
Yeah, and you
Their
wouldn't
homepage.
think like a 40-minute, it's a big commitment to watch a 40-minute film. You wouldn't think that would be the biggest viewed thing that you've ever made. But
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, maybe it's the themes. The universal theme. I think you tap into a universal theme.
People don't know that before they click on it.
No, that's true.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
It's I guess it's a bit of luck, really.
Yeah. There's no sort of rhyme or reason, is there?
Yeah.
But does that answer your question?
Absolute insanity. Yeah, that answers my question. Yeah, perfect.
So, mate, look, probably don't want to do this forever, but like, what do you got next? What do you want to tell them? What you got next coming up?
Told him quite a bit.
Yeah, you've already told them quite a bit.
Yeah.
But there's some new things.
There's
spoiler, isn't there?
When I was 13, we shot this movie called Breathe, a short film, which I sort of did it.
Kind of almost your first serious film.
It stars my sister, and it's all about her, and it's sort of like it's poetic and sort of experimental and very sort of fluid. It's not really a conventional narrative, but it follows her, and it was sort of my love letter to her and all these struggles she was going through, and that came together so well. But we, that's fully edited. But
Has
we've
been for 2 years.
essentially been having it on the back burner, waiting to switch from Premiere, which is our current editing software that we use for color grading, to DaVinci Resolve, because I think it deserves a much better color grade than what we can pull off in Premiere.
I mean, that was shot on red. Yeah.
Yeah, it needs like a really nice grade, and because I really want those colors to pop a bit. And color grading is the thing that I struggle so much with. Like we didn't even touch this one really, grading wise, because we just didn't have time, and it's such an unknown for us, But I really want to nail it for Breathe. And I think in a lot of ways, though, I'm glad we've waited to this point because now, you know, this film's come out and it's a good sort of, you know, quite literally a sister film to this.
It's got like a good companion piece, yeah.
And so, yeah, so that's coming. I've mentioned a couple other stuff that's still happening. Got a mockumentary idea at the end of the year. Working on a play at the moment as a performer, and we're both doing the video design for the projection. I don't know what that was, but I've got a little doco coming soon, sort of experimental documentary about this really interesting public access television host who has this YouTube channel which was criminally underviewed, who in late 2000s, you know, he had 13 subscribers and most videos got like 80 views or something, but he was exploring something truly fascinating about art and life, and in these really experimental sort of films. So yeah, that'll be coming soon. Yeah, there's a whole heap of wonderful stuff. I'm really excited about this year. This year's going to be great. Anything else to add?
That's probably it, hey?
Yeah. All right, well, thank you so much for watching, guys, and thank you so much for watching our movie. And I cannot believe the views that it's getting. Please, you know, if you haven't watched it, give it a watch. I think you'll really enjoy it, and share it around as much as you can, because, you know, I really am so proud of it, and I want as many people to see it as possible, because I think whether how much of it was intentional or not, but we really stumbled upon something really amazing with it. So yeah, watch it, share it around. Thank you for watching this. Hope we answered a lot of the questions a lot of you had. And yeah, see you later.